Hello, I'm JF Seary, and I'm going to be your host for tonight's Digital Verse. This is the fourth installment of a collaboration between the Nuyorican Poets Cafe and the Greene Space. We've been working together to bring you virtual programming during this time of social distancing. I am very excited because this evening we have a wonderful group of poets who are both seasoned and emerging, who have performed at the Nuyorican Poets Cafe and at other venues. All of the videos that you're going to see tonight have been written, performed, and filmed by the poets themselves as a way to stay active and continue performing in this social distancing era. I am really excited about this time period because even though at the beginning of the pandemic, we were all incredibly worried about where our careers were going to go and what was going to happen, artists, the innovators and the creators that we are, have continued to bring work to you live through digital and virtual spaces. So join me this evening, and I hope you enjoy the poetry. First up, we have Brooklyn poet Joanna Hoffman, who is the Obama White House Champion of Change for her work advocating for the LGBTQ community. She will be reciting her poem, Maybe This Is What It Means to Love Something.
This morning, I stepped outside with a bag of recycling, and the elderly man next door who takes the trash to the curb said, "Give it to me, don't worry." And I said, "No, please," and put it in the bin. And he said, "Lady, you have a beautiful day." And I don't tell him that I do worry for him, for the woman across the hall from me with an oxygen tank, for my dad 3 states away that may as well be 3,000 miles. 2 weeks ago, when I was so sick with fever and chills, I thrashed in the sheets all night long. I called out, "Mommy," and she said, "Yes, sweetie." And I said, "I don't want to die alone." And she said, "Listen to me. You are never alone." And who knows if it was really her or my own fevered brain working to love me. And what is the difference, really, between what we think we remember and the legacy of what comes after? Today, I stopped in the middle of my run to gaze out on the East River. The rest of the country can think whatever they want, but we live here. Not all of us escaped or wanted to or could if we tried. A family of 4 walking hand by hand lengthwise approached me, and I felt the distress rising as I tried to figure out how to safely get around them. "Please help me save us," I thought. And the mother read my face and smiled before touching her son's shoulder and creating the pathway. She is the first person to see me in weeks. I'm standing on the pier, watching the water dance and breathe. I'm thinking of the way my mother would lean in with worry on her face as she cupped my cheek with one palm and touched my forehead with the other to see if my fever was breaking. I'm holding my city, just like that.
And that was Joanna Hoffman. Please check out her book, Running for Trapdoors, which you can find online. And next we have the incredible Suzen Baraka. I've had the pleasure of knowing Suzen for many years now. We've toured together with a show called Her Story. I am so incredibly proud of her. Suzen Baraka is a lawyer, an activist, a poet, and an actress, and she is going to be performing for you her original poem, Outsider.
나는 한국 사람. My Korean language teacher laughs at me. "Oh no, you are 미국 사람." I am 한국 사람 too, but this is always a statement met with disbelief. As if black faces all look alike and like nothing familial. Only familiar with drugs, only synonymous with crime. And though I can't get past the first 3 minutes of menace to society, perpetuating stigmas cause my people not to desire me. See, I'm the black girl in class. Even though the other pupils are as Korean as my eyes, they do not see me, as if blackface is the ultimate disguise. Why are you here? What are you? And every time I hear it, I want to crawl into a hole and sit fetal style in my mother's womb. She is why I'm here. And yet I don't quite fit inside of her. can't quite get comfortable in her silhouette. She protects her stories by putting up language barrier and tripwire. Understanding stumbles over her words, so she tells lies with her shoes. She's not that tall. She's taller. Sujana, she calls me. Oma, I call her. See, I store kimchi and my heart pumps red pepper, but it's spicy. My heart burns Korea, and fried chicken burns my mouth. I learned that from my black grandma who grew up down south, but on 5th Avenue, 30th Street. Yeah. Korean fried chicken and beer, $18 all you can eat. But this is more than a bulgogi and collard greens type thing. Yes, my mother does do nails for a living. But beyond that customer service smile, my mother has been through things. A man who was supposed to be the answer to her dreams. A man who was supposed to change her life forever, and he did. Her world was new with him, unexplored, that had already been discovered, and she was an outsider. She had ventured for him to come home, and it was no home at all. His frustration tore into her like teeth into the flesh of Newark. That's where we lived, Newark, where they threw rocks at her children for being different, where love spilled out of his pores for the first time and landed black on her skin, blue on her heart. This was not come true. This was reality. Devastation, like leaving your friends, your family, your country for a man who has nothing except your dreams remains on the dinner plate he just left on the table for you to collect. Yes. My mother does do nails for a living. But she also owns that nail salon, owns 2 houses, and raised 2 Black Korean girls on her own type means. So when they asked me, why are you here? Why are you? I answer, 나는 한국 사람. Why? What are you?
And that was Suzen Baraka with her poem, Outsider. Next up, we have Tahani Salah. Tahani is another good friend of mine. I like to call her my Palestinian sister from another mister. Tahani is a graduate of Columbia University. She is an educator, an activist, a poet, and a mother. And I'm really excited for you to see her poem, You Youth.
What they didn't write in the newspaper, what they didn't show in the media, was that you were neither lost nor savage, that you stood for your people, that you had a message grander than any sky, gathered the shadow of your ancestors, scribbled all you had left across your tongue, and told them that there's no more space in the waiting room of a man's chest that bleeds freedom, that speaks nobility, that is the hired gun of hope, with the homeland bleeding in its streets, with the youth of a people who have spoken freedom in mother tongue. Concrete streets knowing more than enough feet stomping today, deadline has a new meaning. What they didn't tell you is how to answer your children when they ask you why they are born with a pre-placed target across their back, to be taken out by the ones who are there to serve and protect. When the administration questions why streets are full with new and embedded faith, taking what belongs to them, wanting freedom and justice of who they are, what was written for you. That is when you know something is wrong. When you've tried to hold the soul in of a man from the bullet holes of injustice, then you know what it's like to see a life flash before your eyes. In reality, we have become a people that have known oppression like the backs of our hands. Our eyes overwhelmed. We spend our days watching the salvation being ripped from its core of a people that have wanted livelihood in handfuls. We hear your cries for justice, the wars in your bellies, the hunger in your hearts to be answered by a rise in your youth, a thunder in your belief, a hope in your history. We sit in rooms that carry none of our lineage. We teach from textbooks that rearrange our history, color-coded kaleidoscopes of youth. What they didn't say is that you have a history written in tears, a roaring heart of faith, a warrior's message, an infamous ocean of ears, a cargo ship of will, an embodiment of land and soul, the stories that should be told. What they didn't write in the newspaper, what they didn't show in the media, is that we sit a sea away from what real revolutions look like, and we've won our battle gracefully. So now it's our time. And our tomorrow looks brighter because you had a place in creating it.
And that was Tahani Salah's You Youth. And I might also mention that Tahani Salah is a performer in Deaf Poetry Jam, and she's also performed at the Apollo. So in your homes, give her your snaps, give her your claps. She is a wonderful performer. Well, folks in the audience, if you are enjoying the poetry that you're hearing tonight, one way that you can show us your appreciation is by making a donation. These are two organizations that rely largely on public funding, and some of that funding comes from friends, families, and supporters of the arts. So if you're feeling charitable right now, if you want to continue seeing these kinds of free online programs, if you want to help support these organizations during a very difficult time, you know that doors are closed, you know that we are not servicing our communities in the way that we normally do throughout the year, then please consider making a donation. And here's my challenge to you. Consider doubling that donation and giving half to the Nuyorican Poets Cafe and the other half to Greene Space. You can donate to the Nuyorican Poets Cafe at nuyorican.org/contribute. And you can donate to Greene Space by texting LIVE, LIVE, to 70101, and you will see that texting information at the bottom of your screen. Again, this is one way for us to show that we are committed to the arts by making contributions. We would be so incredibly grateful, and artists will continue to thrive even in this pandemic. And next we have Allison Hicks, a citizen of the Prairie Band Potawatomi Nation and the Choctaw Nation, who will be sharing her original poem, Mom's Cookbook.
Mom, what are you making for dinner? In lockdown, this is what I hear more than ever from my little family of 4, as we stay home and keep ourselves safe. Without restaurants and travel, we are, or should I say I am, cooking more than ever. In Los Angeles, where we live, when lockdown started in March 2020, it all seemed so temporary. Things were bad, but this would all be over soon, right? Then as COVID raged on and things got worse, the fear set in. I recognized that fear, the fear of losing my children. When they were born, joy was quickly followed by the realization that they were tiny, vulnerable creatures and dangers lurked everywhere, and it was up to me to keep them safe. Thankfully, I had my mom with me then. My mother, citizen of the Prairie Band Potawatomi Nation, of Choctaw Nation of Oklahoma, grew up on the Navajo Nation in Window Rock, Arizona, because her dad, Grandpa, was tribal liaison to the Navajo Nation for the U.S. Public Health Service. Met my father at ASU, then came to Los Angeles to raise their family during the BIA relocation era. Strong, smart, funny, exasperating. A matriarch with all that entails. Not perfect, but mine. My mom, who loved us all so fiercely. I appreciated her so much more when I became a mother myself. She taught me. She calmed my fears, taught me over the years, but so much more once I became a mom myself. We were together practically every day. My mother was there for me. And then she passed. Now, here in lockdown, I really need her. So, because mothers know everything and they are always prepared, I realized that she had given me a way to still hear her, to still learn from her. My cookbook. My mother made each of us, her 5 children, a custom cookbook. On the cover is her letter to us. I can't read it without crying, without laughing, without hearing her voice. Now I make the food that she would make us. I bring my boys in the kitchen and we cook and we talk about mom, grandma, grandpa, her parents, and the ancestors, who we are as Potawatomi and Choctaw people. Beans and cornbread. I make that a lot. It's so good. Tachi labona. Choctaw, Grandma Wilson's recipe. Very good, but it takes some time. Pork and hominy stew. Red chili sauce. Cornmeal mush. Indian comfort food. Fry bread. That needs no explanation. Navajo tacos. Mom grew up on Navajo, so that's what she called them. Banaja, another Choctaw staple. Like tamales, but Choctaw. All delicious. Some recipe entries were pretty hilarious. Like this one, meatballs, meatballs, meatballs. I don't know where these recipes come from. Maybe off the package of meatballs at Costco. And then this one, Paulette's Sisters cream cheese balls. Yeah, I haven't made that one yet. Sections about herbs, plants, how to grow them, how to use them. A helpful hint section. How to check cooking oil for spoilage. How to shop for lemons. Lemonade, get it? Lemonade. How to shop for them, what to look for in a lemon. How best to cut a lemon to get the most juice. 3 whole paragraphs on lemons. Mom was all about those lemons. She's here. She's making jokes, telling stories, putting on her apron, rolling up her sleeves, singing, still teaching us, still feeding us. Iguam, Mom. Thank you.
And that was Allison Hicks. My goodness, aren't you feeling this poetry in every part of your body, your mind, your heart, your soul? Next up, we have Gabriel Ramirez, another wonderful young poet. I simply adore this young man. I've known him for several years now. Gabriel Ramirez is a queer Afro-Latinx poet. He is an activist. He is a Broadway performer, and he is a teaching artist. We are so proud of him, and this is Gabriel with The Blooming.
I am tired of yelling, of losing my voice to prove a point, to be heard. Born, male, Black, Dominican, I've been taught to take up space, but no one ever told me that I could be a garden, could be soft and smell good and bloom at volumes people usually walk past, usually lavender, mango cocoa, and pink sugar oils are how people remember me. How the air became an antidote, became the search for the scent that filled their lungs with flowers with what reminds them they too can be a home for breathing and blossoming joy. And the heart hugs that follow, they require us to hug with the left sides of our bodies so that our hearts face each other while we all take a deep breath in and exhale together. Exhaling everything that tried keeping us from being here in this hug, this holy place that has no heaven except for the other person. For this intimacy is in no need of romance, in no need of a false future promised to one another, but the promise of this hug ending when we are both ready to release each other back into the world, back to sidewalks brimming with a ghost, and the promise of some danger. Some gardens are unlike anything you've ever seen, but you never ask what had to die for you to be this captivated. To be a garden is to take up space, hoping others will call you home. Call on rainy days too. Days when clouds are all so you forget to look west, forget to thank light for its time, bright and generous, now retreating into invisibility instead of staying where they feel unloved. Where I will return. To be unloved is to have been loved incorrectly, loved enough to believe the lie of love being all I need. All of the failed gods in my stomach are dead and screaming for tenderness, screaming like my father. A garden ended at the root, at his bipolar, his depression, his alone. And I blame his absence for not letting me show him how to water himself into what heals. What kind of son am I to think what is my father's isn't mine, isn't genetic? I carry his loneliness that isn't loneliness, but the choice to ignore the world. Thank you so much.
And that was Gabriel Ramirez. And we really enjoyed that poem. You can follow him on Instagram and Twitter at Ramirez Poet. And while I'm mentioning social media, I encourage you to research these artists, to look them up, to follow their work, and to continue supporting them. If you found anyone that you particularly love tonight, definitely get in touch with them, let them know, and follow their upcoming events. Next, we have Ryan Victor Pierce, also known as Opalianatet. He is a member of the Nanticoke Lenni Lenape Nation. And speaking of local nations, we happen to be on Lenni Lenape land right now. So we would like to pay homage to the Lenni Lenape people. In addition, he is also the founder of Eagle Project, a theatrical company dedicated to exploring Native American culture through the performing arts. He is now going to perform his poem, Stop.
A life's rush, never-ending wheel, collecting, scrounging, competing for capitalistic zeal. Nature impedes. Stop. Enclosed, encapsulated, wheezing, coughing, collapsing. Oh, here comes the sneezing. Relax. Breathe. Stop. Type, zoom in, gather round. New methods, new values must be found. We can stop. Oh, I didn't see you. Where have you been? How still you me to forget you are one of my kin. Ashamed, relieved. Stop. Organize, work. Here is the beauty. Not for one business, but for my community. We can breathe. Stop. All this time, I thought myself was enough. Yet solidarity in numbers, I actually feel uncuffed. We can together. Stop. Resurgence of the animal, new life for the tree. Somehow this virus is letting them be. Nature breathes. Stop. Much of what we've been doing now seems superficial, forgetting the basics for a life that was artificial. What are we doing? Stop. Working for each other, maintaining a home, versus achieving endlessly, yet living alone. Look what I did. Stop. Where is everyone? Does anyone care? Now that our social fabric has a big tear, people are gone. Stop. Does anything bind us? Are we in the same boat? Alas, we are not. Only a few are kept afloat. Who are we? Stop. Rediscover thyself. Ah, yes, now this seems native, yet being stewards of one another is not what our system is made of. Keep resisting. Stop. I am exhausted. Is there any hope? Without leaning on each other, the answer is nope. We must learn. Stop. The answer is clear. It's only solidarity that both brings justice and relieves precarity. Are we brave? Stop. Solutions so simple, collecting courage can take long. To admit that what was taught was so very wrong. We will see. Stop. Normal is vague, need more than just talking to live with virus and bring Welakun to walkin'. Future brings.
Thank you, Ryan, for that incredible work, Stop. And next, we have the privilege, the honor of having a video by Ishmael Reed, who is going to be reading a monologue from his recent play, The Slave Who Loved Caviar, which is about the artist Jean-Michel Basquiat. Ishmael Reed is a playwright, an essayist, a novelist, a performer. He is a MacArthur Genius Fellow. He also founded the organization Before Columbus. And we are very excited because he also premiered his play, The Haunting of Lin-Manuel Miranda, right here at the Nuyorican Poets Cafe. I present to you Ishmael Reed.
So what killed Jean-Michel Basquiat? The decadent Warhol Circle? The insults from the museums like New York's MoMA, which said that exhibiting his work would be a waste of space? The commissions that had him turning out work 24 hours per day from a patron's dungeon? The insults from whites in the United States and abroad, both from art world insiders and from those who crossed his path in everyday life. A photographer wrote, he was treated weirdly, strangely, like he was an oddity. People were entertained by him, fascinated for the moment, but sooner or later, throw him away. Or he was feared, just genuinely feared. No matter where he went in the world, Basquiat was pulled over in Paris with guns drawn. The police asked a woman who had fallen asleep in the back seat of his car was dead. Was he killed by critics? Basquiat stopped talking to Andy Warhol after reading their reviews. Particularly nasty, vicious, and cruel was Hilton Kramer, who wrote, he was essentially a talentless hustler, street smart, but otherwise invincibly ignorant, who used his youth, his looks, his skin color, and his abundant sex appeal to win overnight fame that proved to be his undoing.
And that was an incredible monologue by Ishmael Reed. We are honored that he could join us tonight. And to close out our show, we have La Bruja, a true friend to the Nuyorican Poets Cafe. La Bruja is a winner of the Jerome Hill Artist Fellowship. She has been performing poetry for over 15 years, and she is considered one of America's leading spoken word poets. The Nuyorican is also proud that she is one of our Thursday night open mic hosts. And if you've been inspired by the poetry that you've heard tonight and are thinking you'd like to try your hand at an open mic, please contact us at nuyorican.org, where you can sign up for any of the open mics coming up this month or next. Here is La Bruja with Mike and me.
I have to tell you guys a story. Last night, me and my boyfriend had a fight. It was about me and Mike and being out all night. And he was right. I've been with Mike for nearly most of my life. My boyfriend feels some type of way. With him, things don't sit right. Because, simply said, when Mike calls, I don't think twice about grabbing him in the dark and sometimes in the light. Mike and me handshake got a bond so tight. Sometimes he gives me feedback if my voice spikes. Once connected, he makes sure that I'm respected. Makes me feel special, even when he's being tested. Mike checks to make sure that my sound is always perfected. That when my jaw unclenches, I'm heard deep into the trenches. Mike isn't even into any honorable mentions. He tells me all the time he wants others to shine. And though deep down inside, I wish he was all mine, I gotta get in line while others get his time. I'm in love with Mike, and now my boyfriend wants to leave me. I tell him it's platonic, but he doesn't believe me. But the more he fights with me, the more I run to Mike. Something about this situation just ain't right. I wrote a rhyme and Mike called. He was waiting in the booth. He knew I was feeling cute and he wanted to hear me spit my truth. Everybody always gets our relationship confused. I don't take him to my bed. Oh wait, yeah, sometimes I do. I said I do because I use Mike even to talk to you. Papa, can you hear me? In my love life, I've got two. One just wants to hear me. The other wants me for his boo. I could manage my time between them if my boyfriend wasn't jealous. I want Mike in my life, but my boyfriend wouldn't let us. Fast forward, after getting my boyfriend's ultimatum, Right now, he's somewhere in the world thinking that I probably hate him. 'Cause since he made me choose, I decided not to date him. 'Cause me and Mike come first. With that, there's no debating. Love just isn't love if there's a limit to creating. 'Cause all that jealousy made it feel more like he was hating. He could have sang a song with me instead of always orchestrating. Invalidating my loyalty is quite infuriating. But Mike just laughs as he's seen him come and go. He thinks it's fantastic because it just improves my flow. Will I ever find a man that isn't threatened overall? Or maybe even down for a little menage a trois? Mike is down for anything. That's what I love about him. I'm looking for a lover that isn't trying to out him. Because me and Mike in it for life. We really bout it. I tell people it's forever, but they always seem to doubt it. Me and Mike.
And that was Caridad de la Luz, also known as La Bruja, with Mike and me. And this, my friends, brings us to a close for tonight's segment of Digital Verse. I would like to thank all of the performers for their generous contributions this evening. A special thank you to the organizations that collaborated to bring this event together for you, the Nuyorican Poets Cafe, the Greene Space, and WNYC. Please look forward for our next installment of Digital Verse. It has been a pleasure being your host tonight. I am JF Seary, and thank you once again for joining us for this installment of Digital Verse. We look forward to seeing you on a screen near you soon.